Hey, welcome to Downfall Media. It's another beautiful day in paradise. I am joined here today by a special guest, the first official interview that we are doing for Downfall Media, Sir Jeff Smith, who is the owner of Special Reserve Games. If I think I got that correct, you are the owner, right, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I just call myself the CEO. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of a bigger dog now. So, I'm technically just
Ah, okay, okay.
an employee.
So,
Yeah.
well, that's something I guess we'll have to dive into. But,
Hmm.
uh, so how you doing today, Jeff?
Yeah, just great. Another great day. Started out walking the dog and then jumped into contracts,
Of course.
product design, a global call with everybody, and just a normal day doing video game publishing from your house.
Oh yeah. Everybody knows all about that. We do that every day. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so great. In all honesty, I have been working from the house for 21 years. So this is not a post-pandemic office. It's been my office for quite a while.
well, yeah. So you're used to it then. So if you ever got dragged into an actual office, I'm sure that'd be pretty dang brutal.
Mm-mm. I no, sir. I don't think my entire career I've probably spent maybe 3 or 4 months total inside what you would call an office, a typical office. So no,
Yeah,
no.
I
Even
know.
video game development houses don't have typical offices. Now we could talk about that later, but if you want
Yeah,
to call those offices.
that's another thing that I definitely wanted to get into. But before we dive into anything deep here, I just wanted to start at the top because a lot of people don't actually know who you are exactly. They might know who Special Reserve Games is, but as the CEO, unless you do something wrong, you're typically forgotten about. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself and what Special Reserve Games does, just for the audience out there who doesn't know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Special Reserve Games, I always say, preserves the art of digital games in a physical form. And so we make the physical collectible version of a lot of the great digital games. Some of them were Steam games only, some of them were PlayStation 4 games, and then of now PS5 and Switch. And so those are the platforms that we make for Nintendo and Sony. We have made one or two PC collectors versions, but nah, they're not very collectible. I mean, there's not a lot of people who collect PC collectors versions, if you will,
Yeah,
because
no,
how are you going to
there's
load the game? I mean,
right.
what are you going to do?
Yeah, nowadays
So
and nobody has a CD-ROM or a Blu-ray drive, so that totally makes sense.
that's what killed it. I mean, is what you're going to put it on a USB, and so it ends up being a code in a box. But so that's what Special Reserve Games does. We design all of the games. We work directly with the developers, and we design multiple jacket covers and art cards and different assets of sometimes that we have signature bundles. Sometimes we just have standalone single games. But we do work hand in hand with the developer. The developer has all the final say. So it usually is their key art we're working from anyway. And then we sell directly from our site, specialreservegames.com. And then we assemble and pick, pack, and ship all from our warehouse here in Dallas, Texas. And so it's a small operation, and I have a great team. Most of my team's been with me almost 5 years now, and so that's what we do. And then that's Special Reserve, and then also me personally, I also design and manufacture and do all the contract negotiation for global retail deals for Devolver Digital for all of their physical games. And that is also a pretty fun job. And it, allows me to see, retail is different in different parts of the world. So United States retail used to be the king of all retail, and Europe, kind of lagged. Now it's quite the opposite. US retail is lagging, and European retail is really strong. So it's interesting to see how consumers, react and what consumer attitudes and patterns are outside of our little bubble of direct consumer collectors. So that's what I do, and that's what Special Reserve Games is. That sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely does. And one of the I actually recently got in contact with you. But one of the other things that I wanted to talk about before we moved on from Special Reserve Games and what you guys do itself is what does Special Reserve stand for? Your mascot stand for? Where did that
Huh.
mascot come from?
Oh,
So,
Sarge. Yeah, well, Sarge is a fake dog. She says she's not real. She's a Saint Bernard, and you know, it's kind of a weird, twisted story. It's like at the very beginning, Special Reserve was going to have a wink and a nod towards liquor, and so we would do like innuendos, if you will, that would have to do with like fine scotch or wine or something. But I kind of thought, no, it's not so great. But I was looking for a texture, a wood texture, for the logo at the time, and I found a barrel around the Saint Bernard's neck, and I liked that texture. And then I looked at the Saint Bernard, and then I was like, and I knew a guy, a Navy SEAL named Sarge, and his, and so it was just like this weird thing came together for me. I said, "Oh, that would be amazing," just to have. I love dogs, and so the dog kind of came to life. But the reason I picked the Saint Bernard was usually they rescue you from things. Sometimes they bring you medicine, and so Sarge was a delivery dog. And then what my original co-founder Andy, when she had coined this phrase for Sarge that said, "Sarge is here to deliver you from the cold hard reality of digital fandom." And so that's what Sarge was originally there to do, be the delivery dog and deliver you from the cold hard reality of digital fandom.
yeah.
So,
Well, it's very clever. That's for sure.
well,
Just the
it's
SRG
weird.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just strange how it just all came together. And there's been a couple different iterations of Sarge. It was never really a full color dog. It was never a lifelike dog. It was more like a stamp or an outline, the original logos. And I have a great art director and just a fantastic art team. And most of the art team are females. And so I thought it'd kind of be neat to have a female's artistic take on a female dog, just the whole thing. And so we brought Sarge to life a couple years ago. We made her a full color logo, and then we started incorporating her more into the banners. You'll see each time we release a game, we have original Sarge art, and it is themed to whatever game that we're releasing. Like right now, we have Cardboard Kings and Relic Hunter Zero. Right before this, it was Cult of the Lamb, and then we also sell art tiles where Sarge with the game theme kind of mashed up. So Sarge is getting into the action a little bit
Yeah.
more. She wants
Getting
some
into
more.
that pop culture.
Yeah, she wants some more me time. Is what she said. So, but yeah, so yeah, Sarge is fun. There's a lot of other stories about Sarge that I could tell you that are interesting and some weird. But yeah, it's a fun mascot for sure.
Well, I can tell you, my girlfriend is not super interested in video games. I've gotten her somewhat interested in playing a Nintendo Switch. I bought her a Nintendo Switch Lite within the last year, but as soon as I picked up some product from you guys and that first shipping box arrived, which by the way is just the most clever shipping box of all time, and Sarge is right on the front. She instantly fell in love, and then I got her a shirt, which
Mm.
and she wears that thing all the time. She's obsessed with it, so I think it's pretty dang clever.
Well, I love the dog, and it honestly kind of sets us apart from everybody else too. Because Limited Run has this real. Their logos are real script like graphic, like tag, like street tagger, graffiti tagger kind of logo. So their logo is a graphic, And then there's other companies like I Am 8-Bit. Their logo is kind of graphical and whatnot. The Special Reserve was a signature, and so the dog plus the logo, yeah, something good. But something about that box, that box, it's got 600-pound crush test rating on the corner. It's a thick flute, corrugated. It's probably the fourth generation of that shipping box. The original
Wow.
boxes were different, but inside is my favorite. There's the wolf. There's nine wolves. You see where Sarge, if you open it up, there's nine wolves in there. But that's actually a Norm Macdonald homage, because Norm is like one of all of our favorite comedians of all time.
That's awesome. I
And
love
he
that.
told, yeah. So there's a joke about I mean, it's real. I might as well say it. It's a dog goes into a telegraph office to send a telegram, and he asks the telegram man, "Send this telegram for me." And the telegrams, "Tell me what you want to say." And the dog says, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." And the telegram man said, "Well, that's only 9 woofs. You can add a 10th word or 10th woof for no charge." And the dog goes, "Well, that wouldn't make any sense at all." So anyway, it's just a stupid old school dumb Norm Macdonald, repeating it from the 40s kind of joke. But
I
that's
love that.
literally why. That's why there's 9 wolves in there. So, and there's other things even about like the Special Reserve logo itself, the script logo. A lot of people don't know or really care about, but I took my daughter's signature and my father's signature and my signature, and I stole different letters out of them, and then I kludged them together, and then had an artist clean it up when we redid the logo a couple years ago. So the logo is really made of my handwriting plus a couple letters from my dad's handwriting and then my daughter's handwriting. And so it's
So it's
to
got
me,
sentimental
it's
value.
just to me, and nobody else. I mean, who even really cares about that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
But for me, so that's what I say. We always are paying attention to little small details. And my whole philosophy on Special Reserve is don't cut corners, and if you can make it better, do it.
Well,
I mean, that's
I,
what I try to do at least.
I love that philosophy. And I also like to think that in where we're at uh, in the retail world right now, like you mentioned, it's ever changing and physical is not as big as it used to be. Hence
Mm-mm.
why your company has become so popular for that niche audience. But if you really want to stand up from the crowd, you need to go the extra level. And as someone who has purchased, multiple of your products, I can say that they are to the nth degree. They even better than some of these other bigger ones like limited run. Like limited run, I don't get me wrong, I purchase their products all the time. I love their products,
Yeah.
but they ship your products in a very poor format in comparison to what you guys are doing. You have to pay additional shipping to actually get a limited run box, and it's just kind of
Mm.
thrown in there otherwise, and that's just
Yeah.
disappointing. So
Yeah, I will tell you, I know those guys. I know Josh and Doug, the founders of LRG, and I will tell you, it's not for a lack of caring, that this would happen. It is honestly, the warehouse is a nightmare. I run 2 businesses: Special Reserve Games, all the cool, fun stuff, and then global shipping. And it
yep.
is 2 different worlds, and I global shipping is honestly the worst thing I've ever done in my entire career, because you have no control of 80% of what's happening, once it that leaves your dock. It's just like, well, we gave it to UPS.
That's true.
But and it is also hard to keep up with all these SKUs. So like keep up with I mean, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but it is just crazy, if you think about it real quick. I'm Special Reserve. I'm, much smaller than say LRG. They put out like 50, 60 games easy a year because they're doing distributed titles, their own titles, everything like that. We put out 10. So I've done over 30 games, like 34 or something games. And out of that, I have over 300 SKUs, 300 individual products, all tied to these different games, all on the website, for sale or in some fashion, maybe their returns or whatever. And so just to keep up with all those SKUs and how many we have, and how many this goes with that order. And so, believe it or not, it was a nightmare, man. Have you ever seen a Rubik's Cube? Have you ever seen a 64 side Rubik's Cube? It's like
Oh,
that,
geez.
I mean, and so anyway, I know that that is the bane of all of our existence, is the intricacies of global shipping, and then the cost of global shipping. And so like we're in the United States, man, I got my education on global shipping into Canada, and then of course into Europe. And the attitudes there, and then the VAT and the duties and the stuff that would get assessed for all that. And so it really it sucks, a lot for European collectors to buy direct from the United States, because they almost pay double in sometimes the price of the product once you get the value added tax, the VAT, and the cost of shipping. Sometimes they're paying double for their product. So, it's I have a feeling for those European collectors too, because. But anyway, so it's a really been a great education. I've learned a lot of new skill sets out of this, and but I will give you all advice: don't get into the world of global shipping. It will turn your cool goatee gray.
Well, that's part of owning a business, right? You come in with an idea and you're like, hey, I want to do this. And you're like, wait a second, I have to do these 10 other things that I never wanted to do in order to do this one part. So,
Amen. Yep.
yeah.
Amen. There's a good quote from Larry Harvey, who's the founder of Burning Man. And he said this in an interview on a documentary called Beyond Blackrock. But he said basically, when an artist goes into the business of art, from that day forward, they can only be 50% the artist they once were. And that because you have to be 50% business. If otherwise you just stay all an artist. Well, you don't have to make a business out of it. Just be a great artist for yourself, paint for yourself, sculpt for yourself, whatever. But once you want to sell it and make it and turn it into commodity, you've diminished your ability to be 100% of the artist that you were. And that's the damn truth. So if you can balance those two and still be great, then you really are great as an artist. It's hard to take away half of your artistry and make
Right.
it.
And so many pieces of art are invaluable to the point that people are trying to steal art in so many forms and fashions that you're spending a lot of time just trying to prevent that as well. So
Yeah.
that's
And honor the art at the same time. It's like I always have to keep that in mind, is who made this. And even like a logo, if I said, oh, your logo would look a lot better purple, you're like, what are you talking about, man? This is the color, my family crest color, or something like that. There's always an intent and stuff. So I never ever criticize art, that's for sure. Because we're always like, it's somebody's vision, and I'm not the artist here.
right.
I'm the curator, you know, and so I take what you give me and I turn it into something that I do, you know, but it's still got to be your art. But yeah, so it's hard to do, man. Artists are funky. I've worked with everyone from singers to video game, developers to painters and photographers. So there's all kinds of artists.
Oh yeah, no, I grew up myself around a lot of musicians, and the music industry is very, very tough. Those guys are on the grind all of the time. People don't understand how much work that they put in to get to, even a reasonable, respectable level. So, from what I understand, you grew up kind of in the music industry as well. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, I've been around it in and out. And I prefer the video game business, that's for sure. The music business is pretty fun. Actually, this last Friday, I hosted the Toadies concert at House of Blues here in Dallas. Dusu played, and then Mike Graff and Mike Dane and Duncan Black. And so it was, House of Blues. Toadies are great, I mean, fantastic band. We've all loved them for years. They're local. But we were also doing an auction and a fundraiser for one of our buddies who has some bad medical issues. And so, yeah, I just got to play a little Rockstar on Friday. But yeah, no, for a time in my life, I was Erica Badu's guy. I handled all of. If you're not familiar with Erica Badu, she's won 10, 11, 12 Grammys by now. She's been around
Wow.
since the mid 90s. They used to call her the Queen of Neo Soul, but she is just a fantastic, beautiful human being. She is now kind of a fashion icon. She just walked in all the fashion weeks. But anyway, credible singer here from Dallas, and I worked with her for many years. And so she helped me work with people like Snoop, and got to be friends with DOC from NWA. Did Dave Chappelle stuff. A lot of some stuff with Questlove. We did some recording, and then I had a project
Legends.
band. Oh gosh, Oh my Lord. I mean,
Oh,
some of the
yeah.
best musicians in the whole world. And
Yeah.
what's great is they're all beautiful people. Every one of them that I just named was a beautiful person. And then I have in the rock and roll world, I have a project at once called Kings of Chaos. Actually, Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses is recording under that band name. And Kings of Chaos is an all-star band. So he records some stuff with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, but it's Matt Duff and Gilby, all from Guns N' Roses on the back. And then I think Steve Stevens probably did guitar. So we have this band called Kings of Chaos. We used to just tour like South America and whatnot, and invite different big stars to play. And so the last big tour we did was Gene Simmons from Kiss, Matt Duff Gilby from Guns N' Roses, Joe Elliott, Def Leppard, Glenn Hughes, Deep Purple, Billy Duffy from the Cult, Steve Stevens on guitar from Billy Idol, and of course he co-wrote Bad with Michael Jackson. I mean, just stupid, It was, I mean, from my age, I mean, this is the music I grew up listening to, and recorded one song with them for Deep Purple, uh, Machine Head anniversary album, and then we did a couple tours, and so that part of the rock
All
star
music
world.
that we grew up on. That's insane. That is
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And these guys aren't necessarily out there trying to write a whole bunch of new music. They do write new music, but they know that what they made and created was iconic, and they're happy. Everybody but Joe
they're
Elliott
making
was
they're
singing.
making money now, go play your hits and then you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want when you're not playing those hits.
Yeah. Well, artists don't make any money selling music anymore. That's for damn sure. The only artists make money live selling tickets to live shows. That's why you see all these older rock stars and singers still out there killing it, because that's the only way they're making money now.
Mhm.
And that's also why your tickets are so damn expensive, is because that's the way everybody's making money now.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
nobody makes money. Who buys records? Tell me the last time you said, "Hey, I'm going to the record store and going to buy some records." I mean, no, that doesn't happen anymore.
True. But I can tell you that I bought a record a week ago, but that's because it came with my God of War Jotnar edition. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. Well,
uh,
yeah. No, I'm with you. But vinyl's the only thing that I buy as well, and it's mainly just to collect. It's every once in a while we play some vinyl. My daughter's room. My daughter's in college, but she's got the turntable up in her room, so I sneak up there.
I'll actually say that I think I hate CDs. See, they
Yeah.
get scratched too easy. Every time that I order a CD and then it shows up from Amazon or whatever it is, the disc is always loose inside of there, and so I have
Mm.
to open it to make sure that it's not getting scratched. And so I've very heavily switched to collecting more Nintendo stuff as of late, for
Mm.
multiple reasons. But those cartridges are just that's so tight in there. You don't have to worry about them
Yeah.
whatsoever. So
Yeah, no, I used to have this problem with those discs. Sometimes we would ship PlayStation 4s back in the day, and I would report to Sony, hey, we had a couple discs coming loose and shipping, and they're like, impossible. And
no,
they're
it's
like,
all the
no,
time.
yeah, they're like, we test these are patented and stuff. And they're right, they do. But I was like, maybe they toss them like footballs, and they do. If you've ever seen a global warehouse, not our warehouse, but like a big transfer station, good Lord. They just,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
I'm sure they do.
bro, it's amazing that anything shows up, in one piece. I can't tell you. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it
yeah.
just goes back to, packing too. Like Amazon, they're taking the disc and throwing it inside of this cheap plastic thing and it's just flopping around in there. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Amazon, just on the side of global shipping, I learned of how powerful Amazon really is, and what a difference they made to the entire industry. The Amazon brought in what you call dimensional weight in shipping. And so sometimes how you get an Amazon box and it's like a crazy oversized box for like a tiny little something rattling around in there. You're like, why would they ship that in there? And then sometimes you get boxes perfectly packed, exactly tight, whatever. Well, if you measure height times length times width and divide by 166, you will get whatever number that is. That's the dimensional weight of that box.
Hmm.
So if that dimensional weight, let's just say, is 10 pounds, okay, that means you can put 1 pound or you can put 10 pounds in that box, and you're going to get charged the same rate by the carrier for the dimensional weight if it's domestic. Okay. If has to get on a plane, and you start, I'm going into the weeds here,
Mhm.
but domestically in the United States, Amazon owns the rates. Whatever they want to do, we all get to do. And so dimensional weight is their thing.
Hmm.
That's why, so that's how they know it doesn't matter how much stuff weighs. It only matters how big our boxes are, because then we have a set rate for those boxes. And it's
Okay.
not literally 1 to 10 pounds. It's not that huge of a variance, but it's close. It's like maybe 5 pounds or something. So, it's really interesting. So you got dimensional weight, and then you got actual weight and shipping. And so just know that Amazon, they have the best shipping. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we all get to follow their lead.
Yeah.
And we don't get their rates.
Well, Amazon's taken over the world, as everybody knows, and a
Mhm.
lot of people are afraid of what's going to happen to physical retail long term, which I really hope is always around, because I personally like to leave my house. I don't want to
Yeah.
always be here. I'm already here all day for working, so I want to get out of the house and go do something. So
I've already seen it though. That physical retail's gone.
yeah,
They're going to have stores, but they have window screens that have pictures of the physical products, and you can push a button. You know what I'm saying? But picking stuff up and taking it off the shelf. Those days are, how many malls have you seen close over the last 10 years?
yeah,
Just malls, and not strip malls, but malls. They are dead ass empty because the new generation just doesn't go walk around and hang out at the mall, and buy
yeah.
stuff.
It's very true. It's very true. I live in a city. I live in San Diego, so the two malls here are still pretty popping, especially Fashion Valley. Fashion Valley is always popping. But I'll tell you, local GameStop here, just because it's a hop, skip, and a jump from my house. I go down there all the time. They all know me there. I've made friends with the people there. I love I love social interaction, so I really hope
Yeah.
that's not a thing of the past.
GameStop, yeah, GameStop is one of the unique retailers that how they're set up is you're supposed to interact with the people behind the counter, and they're supposed to be knowledgeable enough to help guide you around the store. Not saying anyone like Best Buy or something doesn't know, but you've got 20,000 different things in Best Buy. GameStop, you're dealing with games, so it's very specific. It reminds me, uh, and I grew up in this little small hometown, Enid, Oklahoma. There was a place called Jack's Records and Tapes, and Jack owned it. And you went in there, and it was a little tiny small thing. This is back when they sold 8 tracks, and cassettes were kind of new, and you used
Mm,
to have to put your hand through a circle in a plexiglass thing to get your 8 track out. It was weird, but you'd say, "Hey, Jack, do you have the new single, or have you heard if Blake's putting out a new record or whatever?" Jack would know. Jack knew because there was no internet or anything like that. And those days are gone now, because you can find out anything that you want. But I used to rely on the knowledge of Jack, at the record store to guide me sometimes. Like, hey man, you like Blake's record, well, you might like Jack's record too, and it's just strange, those
yeah, I
days are
miss
gone.
that, man. I really
Me
miss
too.
that social interaction.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if you like Joust, you're gonna love Pac-Man, like those. That's how I found out about software too. I had an Atari 5200 that when I was, I had an Atari 2600 as a kid, I had an Atari 5200 as a kid. And if you had the Atari 5200, those damn controllers, the little red buttons on the side, they wore out crazy fast. And okay, what do? There's no place to just buy another controller. You had to buy a whole damn new system. And so there was this one place in town that was a little software place, and they sold floppy disks in that in Ziploc bags, and people would write and hand draw logos and shit on a piece of paper, and they would be on a pegboard when you'd walk in. That was how people bought and sold software,
I love
uh,
that.
indie software. And I would go there to get my controller fixed. It would take weeks, but those guys would take that apart and fix my controller for me.
That's
So
so
it's like,
funny.
but those kinds of places and those kinds of people with that kind of knowledge and the encyclopedic knowledge that some of these guys have and girls, some as well, gone. It's just gone, and I miss it because there's a human side to software, that
Right.
is missing.
It's definitely missing. Excuse me. Especially in social media where, you can have someone who worked on something for 5, 6, 7, 10 plus years, put it out for the public, and then someone will decide in 5 seconds that it's trash. So,
Oh, oh well. It works both ways. You can also be rewarded as quickly as
yeah,
you're crucified.
right,
But
right,
yeah, it is a strange. It's a strange world. You used to have to earn it. You used to have to earn the right to be able to talk smack or have somebody respect your words. Now you just have to have his words. It's kind of strange. No one even qualifies who's saying these words anymore. Not at
well,
least
nobody
in the heat of
who
the moment.
who would talk to you that way in real life. Would these people actually come up to you and say, no, it just wouldn't happen? That's why another reason why I miss social interaction, which is funny, ironically, that we're sitting here talking thousands of miles away right now. But
Yeah. Yeah, but I used to say that all the time. Keyboard tough guys and stuff. They used to be people on the other end of a phone and stuff. But when you think about software developers and software publishers, you never, you probably think of geeky little nerds. That's what For some reason, people always think that they're like little geeky people. I'm 6'4". I'm a 300-pound Texas boy.
Mhm.
And it's like, and people say, what do you do for a living? They expect me to say, I drive a tractor or some crap,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm a video game publisher. And then they look at me and they're like,
Like,
really? Yeah, they're just
yeah,
perplexed, and
yeah.
I'm like, what did you expect?
It's
Bill
always the
Gates
best.
to pop out of the closet, So anyway, it's funny what people think, how they have predetermined, even like game people who love game play, who love Warzone all and play all night. Oh, those people playing Warzone. I'm like, well, you're looking at one of those guys.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
weird what people think about video games
Yeah.
that aren't really into video games. I can only imagine what people think about you or me when it comes to physical video games and collecting and
Oh,
nerding out, talking about why fold cello wrap, shrink wrap, and and stuff like that. I
right.
mean, people think you're talking another language. So
Well, the irony is with that specific topic is I look at it like, well, why would you pay $70 to rent a product that they could delist at any point and then you could never download it again? Whereas I
Stadia.
buy something, right, exactly. Whereas I buy something that I can hold in my hands that I could use that I can display as a piece of art, literally,
Yep.
and I can open it and have all this other beautiful art displayed inside of the instruction booklet, and I can play the game even when my internet goes offline, which
Yep.
I know people like to refuse to believe is a thing, but I have had that happen to me more times than I can count, where I go to play a PlayStation game and I can't play it anymore.
Sure.
I know I'm wearing a PlayStation shirt, guys, but I do want to shout out Nintendo Switch because I can pop in almost any cart that I have and it plays instantly. Just saying.
Yep. But then there's also another level to this, is that it's that human connection. So, digital screen is really hard to have an emotional connection to, if you will. But if you put something in your hand, it's a tangible good. It evokes an emotional reaction, if you will, even if it's just a texture or smell or you hate it, it's a piece of shit. I mean, it evokes an emotional reaction. And so that's why physical hits different than digital also. I mean, one, it doesn't eat up all your storage on your device.
Mhm.
But like you said, you can display it and all that. But it's got an emotional connection. Just look at vinyl. I mean, we didn't invent physical games. We just brought them back the way they should be displayed, and we're make the best possible quality
Right.
version that we could make, because my idea, like I said, I'm preserving someone's art. And if I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do that It's like, oh, in the Louvre, they don't just hang shit on the wall. They preserve it and they make sure it's pristine and it's safe. It's a museum piece. And that's the kind of way I look at our stuff because we sunset stuff. A lot of the original stuff we made, we didn't always have versions available forever. We had 1,000 of this and that. I mean, in the world of video games, 1,000 of something is nothing.
No.
It's like it's a drop. I mean, it goes bam. So some of the stuff we created for the developers, very special. They get to hold it in their hand, even though they might have sold 10 million units digitally. It's still holding their game in their hand physically. Really makes a difference, and it also made a difference to people in their family, like their parents or their wife or their husband. That would they're like, oh shit, it's real.
Yeah.
So tangible good, tangible connections, evoking emotional reactions, still a very real thing.
It's kind of actually makes me think of a photo album. You know how people used to have photo albums? You'd open it up, you'd look through it, and it evokes an emotion. Well, it's a physical thing in front of you, right? And now your cell phone doesn't do that to the same degree. You don't just go and look,
No,
you don't go and sit down with the family and, hey, let's all hover around my phone and look at pictures together, where you used to do that with photo albums. And I just feel like we're
absolutely.
losing a little piece of what makes humanity special.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. That's why I think video gaming is special because it's one of the only entertainment oriented communities that l- holds itself together and kind of self polices and maintains what it is. The music business is controlled by the people who own the music business, and same with the movie industry and the TV. But video games are controlled by, man, the fans is really who controls the damn industry, and then
Passionate.
it's the developers after that, and then after that it's the publishers and the investors, and that's it, because a video game is good or it's not. It's adopted or it's not. It's replayed or it's not. That's it. But a great game can last for years. Like Enter the Gungeon from Devolver, Hotline Miami. Some of these games, Hotline Miami's 10 years old. It still sells. It's still a great selling game because it's still a great game. There's all kinds of people discovering it for the very first time. But you see a movie or hear music, it feels dated. People know music from the 80s. People know music from the 90s or 70s. They've got a ring to it. But, tell me about video games. It's hard to tell, video games like that. Back in the day, the late 90s. Okay, yeah, it was all about freaking lens flares and stupid stuff that we were doing with our voodoo cards.
Oh yeah.
But video games now, gee, many Christmas. It's a fun game to play or it's not.
Mhm.
Period. Easy. So like that's why I love the video game business. I mean, there's a ton of edge lords here,
Oh
but
yes.
it's it's self-policed and it's a great industry and it's a great community. In my opinion, I've been in the video game business since 1996.
Right. And that's actually another thing. I know that we were talking on that one topic for a while. I want to segue a little bit over. How did you get involved in the gaming industry?
Well, I killed the man. No, my cousin, my everyone's got the smart cousin in their family, and my smart cousin Brett, he was an Apple IIe guy. He was an Apple guy, and it was making video games for Apple for Mac, and he and his partner, and then they put out a game called Terminal Velocity for Macintosh, for Mac through Macsoft, and this company called Microsoft said they liked it and they wanted to port it to Windows 95 because they wanted to start a video game division around Windows 95. Look that up, kids. And so about that time, I was playing Quake with online, and we had this thing called oh my gosh, I just forgot the name. not IRL. We had a chat program that I'm just forgetting the name of. I think it was IRL. No, but anyway, we had a
IRC.
IRC. Thank you,
Yep.
IRC. Good lord. And I had a real low number IRC, and that's how we chatted with each other while we'd play Quake. And we'd all like we were logging into the cooler. I think in Colorado was the server we would log into to do matchmaking because this is before Quake 3 Arena or anything like that. Before they had matchmaking in the game, right? This is because believe it or not, kids, multiplayer didn't exist. Not even 20 years ago, multiplayer within games didn't exist, or at least it wasn't stable. But anyway, so I was playing a lot of games and I was on IRC. Well, I was chatting with Brett, my cousin Brett, all the time, and he said, "Hey, man, we got an offer from Microsoft. They want to port the game. You want to come down and do PR for us? And we need some stuff." I'm not a programmer, I'm not an artist, but I'm a biz guy, and I like tell stories. Obviously, I love to talk, and I said, "Sure." And he said, "Come down and do PR for our company and for our game engine, our graphics engine that we have." And I said, "Great." He said, "I'll pay you $24,000 a year." And I said, "Holy crap, are you serious? I'm going to be rich. I am rich." And then I moved to Louisville, Texas, where Terminal Reality was, and started my career there and realized that $24,000 a year sucked. And I couldn't even, this is 1996, man, and I couldn't even afford to eat. But thankfully, my salary got a little bigger the next year. And then, so yeah, I worked at Microsoft, or we did a lot of games for Microsoft. Um, Terminal Velocity, Hellbender, Fury Cubed, Monster Truck Madness 1 and 2.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played Monster Truck Madness like crazy growing up as a kid.
God, Monster Truck Madness. I mean, beta testing Monster Truck Madness 2 in the audience when we had LAN, like 8-player LAN. Oh my God, man. That was all we did. That was all we did.
So cool.
Oh, I love that game. So
I used to play Motocross Madness a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that wasn't us, right? Yeah. But then they also did 4x4 Evo after that. And then the last game, and then Kart Precision Racing, which was Championship Auto Racing Team, and that was more of a technical sim. That was an incredible game. But and then we left Microsoft and we co-founded something called Gathering of Developers, or God Games, here in Dallas, where it was us, Epic. You might have heard of Epic, Ritual, Pop Top, and oh my gosh, and Third Law. And we all came together, and Epic did our first game. We did Jazz Jackrabbit 2. Cliffy B, what's up with your Jazz Jackrabbit? We did Jazz Jackrabbit 2. And then we did Railroad Tycoon 2. And those were our launch titles. The last thing we did, yeah, and I went on and worked for God Games. I left Terminal Reality, went on and worked for the publisher at that time because I thought I could do a lot more, and which I could for them. And the last game we did as God Games, as that particular iteration of it, was Max Payne. The very first Max Payne.
You may have heard of that. It's a pretty popular franchise, people.
been around, and it wasn't a movie yet or anything like that. It was originally called Bullet Time Demo.
Oh,
and we first showed it at E3 1998 in Atlanta, Georgia, because E3 used to go back and forth between Atlanta and LA. Oh. But so 1998 in Atlanta, we showed it. We showed Nocturne from Terminal Reality, because it had a great graphics engine with shadows and lighting and like I said, the good old lens flares, but cloth simulation. This was all new. Mark Randall is using Quaternion math to do cloth simulations and stuff. Real taxing on the CPUs. We had like 2 computers that would run the full build of Nocturne, But and these were all PC games back then too. Their Dreamcast was starting. There was talk about a Dreamcast, and maybe 2 years later, PlayStation 1 came out. So I mean, we were all still doing PC games here. And but yeah, Max Payne was called Bullet Time Demo because of how you could slow down and that Matrix style freeze stuff. And it was just a technical demo, and people completely lost their minds. And then that was Remedy from Helsinki, Finland. And and so it was just that was kind of the how I got into the video game business.
That's a good story.
thankful for my family for asking me to join something that they started. Usually it doesn't work out well, but it did, and and it was the greatest thing I ever have done in my life. It was to get a job in the game business. I've traveled the world. I've been all over the world because of the video game, continents, back and forth every coast, tons of friends, all because of video game. That's why I said I'm just surrounded by the most talented people in the world. And it's just, such a pleasure to go to work.
That is so cool. I love that story, and I'm hoping that I can follow in your footsteps in regards to traveling around the world here. Uh, want to start getting out to some of these gaming conventions, just because I've never really been to
Yeah.
any. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna start dipping my toes into that stuff, and
I would just
this
say the
next.
ones that I like the most, that I see they're most customer focused or consumer focused, are PAX, PAX East, PAX West.
Okay.
They don't do PAX South anymore, but PAX East will be back in like April in Boston, probably, and PAX West is just finished. GDC is more of a business show, so GDC that happens out in San Francisco. They also have one at the Jacob Javits Center in New York that was different. Those are like business deals. If you're going to try to get your game signed, or you want to become a publisher, or you want to find money, or you want to do business, go to GDCs. If
Okay.
you want to have a fan experience, go to TwitchCon, PAX East, PAX West, because those are really good fan experiences. E3 is a mix of both,
Mhm.
but you'll feel it as a fan at E3 how corporate it is. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
I've heard that.
So, like, there's parties and shit, but like, it's still, honestly, bro, we hate E3. I mean, most of us in the industry, we hate E3 because the people who ran it up until now it's the group who runs PAX East and PAX West now are taking over running E3. So we're hoping they're going to turn it around a little bit. But man, they used to just charge people at the yin yang to participate, and it was no consumers allowed. It was very businessy, and it just got so expensive
Mhm.
for everybody to participate in. We're like, what are you doing? So with the onset of greater internet and greater social media, and whatever, you saw people bailing out of E3. And
Yeah, I
so
mean,
like,
even just renting the spaces before you do anything, it's expensive as hell.
well, here's the backstory on how E3 used to run. Um, it all was inside the Staples Convention Center. It takes up all of it there in downtown Los Angeles, Pico and Figueroa, and the people behind the doors in the smoke filled rooms would allow you where, oh, Blake, he's brand new. He's over in West Hall. He's not in the main hall. So number one, where you were placed was not up to you. And then how much it cost, they used to say, how much is your annual revenue? And they had, and it was disclosed as part of the thing, and they charged you a percentage of basically your annual revenue. So
That is
Microsoft,
shady.
well, I know that was somehow. So Microsoft, imagine how much Microsoft was paying to be
Yeah,
there. They were paying the most to
yeah.
be there. So damn right they were in the main hall with the big booth. They just got
Mhm.
tagged like $5 million just
Oh
in
yeah.
booth rent or something like that. So it was a shady thing. And so when we were at God Games gathering developers, go look it up. We had something called Hell Texas. And when it moved to Los Angeles, we never, ever, ever, ever paid once to be inside. We rented the parking lot across the street from the Staples Center. We brought in a bunch of Airstream trailers, and we brought in bands from Texas, barbecue from Texas, beer from Texas. And it was, if you had an E3 badge, you could get in. And each one of those Airstream trailers, that's where we set up our game demos. Max Payne, stuff like that. That was where we set up our demos. And we said, come on
Sounds
over and
fun
have
as
free
hell.
barbecue. Oh, we had free beer, free barbecue. We had bands playing, it was just, because that was what the video game business was. It wasn't that shit across the street. And so that's kind of the way we've always been. And that's the attitude. That's why, Devolver and, Special Reserve Games or whatever, the attitude around our group is, a little bit more F the suits.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Jeff, I want to be respectful of your time because I know that we scheduled this for about an hour here. And, I know that you and I are both running a couple of businesses. Believe it or not, people, Downfall Media is not my full-time job. So, one of these days, once we make it big time. But Jeff, one of my best friends in the entire world lives out in Texas. So I'll come out and visit you one of these days. And then you got to make me some of that barbecue.
Well, I mean, I'm not the best barbecue maker, but I recommend Lockhart fatty brisket from Lockhart, and ribs and sausage from Terry Black's, and we'll put about 10 pounds on you while you're here in
Hey, perfect. I need it. Oh, get that San Diego bod. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, hey guys, I appreciate you all tuning in. This has been our first interview for Downfall Media. We plan on doing a lot more of these, trying to do once a month or so. I want to greatly thank you for showing up today. This was awesome, Jeff. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Yeah, when I met you online and I saw what you were collecting and your excitement, and then you're doing box openings and stuff. We all loved your vibe. So I'm happy to be part of what you're doing because I know you really love it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Hey, it's all out of the goodness of my heart right now, boys and girls. So, so I'm having a good time, learning how to do it. So, anyways, guys, we'll see y'all next time. Please check out Special Reserve Games. I can tell you right now that they make the highest quality physical games in the industry. I buy a lot of collector's editions, and every time that I receive one of their products, it truly blows my mind. So I was showing it off this morning to some old guy who doesn't give a shit about video games. I was like, oh, look how cool this is.
Yeah. Well, people know what quality is when it's in their hands. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, good. Right. Well, I hope everybody donates to your channel and joins and follows.
Hey, yeah. Make sure you subscribe. We have a new website that just went live on downfallmedia.com. So everybody out there, check it out, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Blake.